Okay, well, I want to welcome you all here this evening. My name is Colleen Marr, and I am the proud mayor of your town, and I want to thank you all for coming out. Tonight is a special meeting of the Borough Council, since we are all here together and constitute a quorum. This is actually an official public meeting at which no action will be taken. This evening, I am pleased to have with me my council up here, along with the president of the Recycling Association, Harold Clark. I'm going to start off by reading the Open Public Meetings Act. I hereby announce and request that such be included in the minutes of this meeting, that notice of the time, place, and date of this meeting has been prominently posted on the bulletin at Borough Hall, mailed to the Times, the Courier, the Star-Ledger, the Alternative Press, and the Patch, and mailed to any person requesting the same in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act. Tonight, I am pleased to have with us our Union County freeholder, Al Mirabella, is here in the room, who, as you know, is a Fanwood resident. We also have the Union County Recycling Coordinator, Joanne Giamanda. Joanne, where are you? Where's Joanne? Oh, there she is in the back. I want to thank you for coming. To my left, I have Clint Dixon, who is the Director of Public Works and also serves as our recycling coordinator. Next to Clint is Mrs. Eleanor McGovern, who serves as both our borough administrator and our clerk. Next is Councilman Jack Molinar. Then we have Councilwoman Erin McElroy Barker, Russell Ugal, Council President Kathy Mitchell, Councilman Tom Krantz, Kevin Boris, and Harold Clark, the president of the Fanwood Recycling Association. May we have a roll call, Mrs. McGovern?
Kevin Boris.
Here.
Russell Ugal.
Present.
Tom Krantz.
Here.
Erin McElroy Barker.
Here.
Catherine Mitchell.
Here.
Jack Molinar.
Here.
Mayor Moore.
Here. The format for tonight's presentation is to have a community conversation about recycling and the nonprofit Fanwood Scotch Plains Recycling Association. As I said, no action is slated for this evening. It really is a dialogue between your governing body and the residents of Fanwood to discuss how we currently recycle and what the future of recycling may look like in Fanwood, and the reasons why we're even having this conversation here tonight. We have a short PowerPoint presentation to lay out some information to you, and then we're going to open up the meeting to the public. And we are going to be here to hear from you. Since it is a public meeting, when you do come up, we will ask that you will state your name, your address, and that we ask you to keep your comments to 3 minutes. And so that everyone can have an opportunity to be heard tonight, because that is part of really the reason why we're here, and then we will adjourn. I am very happy that freeholder Al Mirabella could join us here tonight. He understands the importance of the recycling center and how we recycle here in Fanwood, and he, along with the county, appreciates the uniqueness of what we have here in Fanwood, to the point that, you know, we have had active conversations with the county with what resources could actually be employed over to the center as we have this dialogue. And the reasons that we engage the county, I think you will see, are pretty evident about some assistance. So I think with that, I'm going to go right into the PowerPoint presentation, if that's okay with the council. And, oh, Harold, I think, do you want to say a few words?
I want to take any signs off the table as we do this. I didn't realize I was going to be up here, so this is all spontaneous, but thank you. Thank you everyone for coming. This is a very important meeting, and I appreciate the very fact that you are here means that this is an issue that you consider important, particularly given the weather. I also want to thank the council for arranging this, because getting the public's input on how Fanwood does recycling is critically important. We have been handling our recycling in a very unique way for the last 28 years. Now, that's certainly no argument to say that we should continue to do it that way, but it certainly is an argument that we should look at each of the options that are being considered and think carefully about what we are going to gain and what we are going to lose with each of them. I'm anxious to hear what everyone has to say, the good, bad, and the ugly. The association and the center has evolved over time. It's different now than it was when it started. And if we continue to do recycling this way, and if the association, which, just to be clear, is a separate nonprofit 5013C entity, it's not part of the town government. I think because the town has been so gracious in letting us use their site for our webpage and so forth, many people think we are a commission of the town. We're not. We're a separate entity, and we contract with the borough to run the center over there on behalf as a public service to the citizens of Fanwood. And if we continue, we'll continue to evolve and with input from the public. So this is a great way for us to hear that input and to figure out how to deal with it. And I'd be happy to talk to anybody one-on-one about recycling as well, if there are people who would like to have particular conversations. But in general, I'm looking forward to this conversation, and I want to thank you all very much for coming tonight.
Okay, so again, we're here to have a community information meeting on recycling. And before I really get into it, I also want to thank Pat Hoynes, who works for the Borough of Fanwood, for really working really close with the Recycling Association and us and the local government to produce this PowerPoint tonight. We thought it would be really beneficial to just go back to some of the very basics. And the basics are, why do we even recycle? Because in 1986, New Jersey state mandated that local municipalities should facilitate recycling in their communities. And because of that, the association was born. It was established to provide this unfunded mandate on borough-owned land, now known as the Recycling Center. The Recycling Association, as Harold mentioned, is a 501c nonprofit association. It is governed by a non-member volunteer board of directors. There are 5 part-time employees, 1 salary, and 4 hourly. The center, as we know, services not only Fanwood residents, but folks from all corners of the county. And how do we know that? Because over time we have done surveys and we have asked people where they come, and so we can really have information about the far reach that the center provides. And the Recycling Center accepts many items that are not necessarily accepted elsewhere in Union County. The benefits of the center. For many of you here tonight, we are probably preaching to the choir. You understand what the benefits are, but for those who don't necessarily understand the long history, we need to really cull it out. So we know there's an educational benefit. We know that schools, and we have a nice scout presence here tonight, regularly tour the center for valuable lessons on the waste stream. We know that there is grants that is associated with the tonnage, which is the amount of material that is received from the center. Fanwood collects, the borough collects grants from the DEP, from the state, and the amount is based on how much we recycle. And that amount that we recycle kind of comes in 2 or 3 different parts. One is from the Recycling Association that has its own tonnage. The second is from the leaves and the brush that we pick up from your curbside, because that can be recycled. And then we also have a certain amount that comes from the commercial district here in Fanwood that recycles. So those 3 then create one sort of tonnage amount of which we get a grant from the DEP. Countywide service. The center accepts items that the county only accepts at special events. These materials all contribute to Fanwood's tonnage grant. Community service hours. We know this is a very important and proud aspect of the association. It's opportunities for young people completing service hours for schools or church programs, as well as the courts, family service agencies, and high school detention. So we know, as your elected officials, the far reach and touch that the center has since its inception. This kind of dovetails into who works at the center, and here is a list that is, people, organizations that come to the center and actually receive a cash stipend for helping on Saturdays. And as you can see, it's civic, it's religious, it really touches all sorts of the corners of what makes up any community. And what does the association do with the money? And here we know, and we've always had talked about how the money's being recycled back into the community. Something that, we all are very proud of, is that the association has been able, over the course of years, to give back into the community. And these are examples of what they do with the money. Purchase Christmas gifts for the troops' adopted family, pay for annual rechartering fees for troop storage lockers, offset the cost of purchasing green energy for the church, support the troops' Gold Award projects, enable boys whose family who can't afford the annual troop fees, and help pay for a troop to Costa Rica for girls, some who have never been out of the Northeast. The revenue and the tonnage history, as I talked a few minutes ago about the tonnage. This is something that through Clint Dixon, who is our recycling coordinator, and each community must have a recycling coordinator because it's mandated that you recycle. So Clint's job is to track the tonnage for us to be able to give to the state. And working in concert with the association, we can trace and track sort of the tonnage over the years. And we've gone back to 2007. And for sort of 897.5 tons, the revenue that came in was close to $96,000. In 2008, it's basically static, it's the same. Takes a little bit of a drop to 700 tons in 2009, comes back up in 2010 and 11. 2012, you start to see a decline. And in 2012, you see it's 786 tons for a revenue of 72,600, and it drops a little in 2013 to a little over 600, which each is about 60,000. 2014, 560 for 51,000, and then 2015, the numbers just came in, and this is a projection for 2016. We don't have the actual tonnage, but the Recycling Association provided these numbers for us here.
Now, why is the tonnage?
We're going to just save, if we can, we'll just, the tonnage goes along with, well, I think we'll go to the, here, I'm sorry, go back. Here. Part of the reason is the price of oil impacts us. Part of the reason is plastics are made from oil. Oil, right?
I'm not asking.
Maybe I'm going to just hold that because it would be, if we start to just yell out and I can't see you, no, we're going to wait until we go through the presentation. We have an agenda, and that would be the best way to address everybody's concern and keep us on track. Thank you. We go to the next slide. Service to the community. In the past, the center has donated to the rescue squad, the fire department, and local service organizations. Their donations have been made possible by surplus income from sales of recyclables. Because of the market downturn, this is no longer viable. So we're here tonight because there's certain things that have changed, which has impacted the association, which has really forced the governing body to become an active participant in the funding of the center and also the future of it. The recycling center is no longer self-supporting. it has been requiring subsidies from the Borough of Fanwood through our budget, our operating budget, which is basically your tax dollars. We also are finding that people are busier than ever, finding it difficult to get to the center. The center is open 8 hours a week. It is open 4 hours on Wednesday, which is do-it-yourself, and 4 hours on Saturday, where you will have help. From 2007 to 2014, our recycling tonnage dropped by 38%, along with the size of the grants. So when the association approached the borough for financial assistance, and that's how this started, so that if we go back over the last couple years, the association was having some difficulties staying in business, and came to the governing body to look for some subsidies. And in 2014, those subsidies equaled roughly $22,700. And that's not including in-kind and utilities. The Borough of Fanwood currently pays for some of the utility bills, and then we can track the number of hours, sort of help with equipment, plowing of the center during snowstorms, and things that we consider in kind that actually have a value to it that is placed on it by Public Works. In 2015, the subsidy went up a little bit more to $33,920, and we started to really try to put numbers to what the in-kind was. You know, what were the number of hours that Public Works was spending over there, what was some of the work on the equipment costing us, and we were able to put a dollar figure to that. In 2016, this subsidy, this cash subsidy to keep the center open has jumped even more to a total of about $98,887 in support. That includes the in-kind, the utilities, and what the center has asked us that they need. Now, I'll just take a pause right here for a second. It's borough-owned land that the association leases for $1 a year. And at the time it was a nonprofit, the borough can enter into a contract with the public biddings law with a nonprofit. You don't have to go out for a competitive bid and the land is ours. The association lost its 501c3 for a short period of time. And when it lost that nonprofit status, the IRS nonprofit status, it became a for-profit entity. And the minute that it became a for-profit entity, we could, as a public entity, not enter into any contract without going out for bids. We can't just have a relationship with a private entity without going out for bids in an open public setting. So that is at that point, which is why we started to go out for bids. At that point, this is where the conversation started for us on the governing body, because at that point, we got brought into the day-to-day operations of the center. So if you want to sort of understand and follow why we're here tonight and the path that it's taken us, it's been almost a 2-year process for us to get here to have this conversation, because we have been, as your elected officials, through the budget, supporting the recycling center. We have a current contract with them that when they lost their nonprofit status and we went out to bid and we got some numbers back that we thought were too excessive to pass on, we thought we would go into a standalone contract, which is what we have now with the recycling center for 3 years. 14 to 17, I think it is, 2017. So we have that framework, and in that contract, there were annual cash subsidies laid out through the public bid. The issues that we've seen is that what was laid out in the contract has now gone up. So I think that's important to frame our discussion here tonight, to understand that we are not here to shut the center down. We are not here to undercut the social and environmental and civic responsibilities that this association has had since day one. But we are your elected officials who preside over your tax dollars. And we have seen the subsidies inch up and inch up to this year with the slide, we're at 98,000 when we add everything together. And that is why we're having this conversation tonight. Next slide, please. So, time for like a pause, time for us to review. We know we must meet our state mandated obligation to provide a recycling program. We know we have to evaluate the intangible benefits of what the center does versus the curbside offerings. We know that we have to limit the cost to our taxpayers. That's first and foremost for us, is really being fiscally prudent with your tax dollars. As I said, we have a current contract in place with the recycling center that takes us out to 2017. The association is asking us for increased subsidies, and we've seen that amount increased in a very short period of time versus what was responded to at the time through the RFP. So we wanted to share with you the costs of what the center does, how it does, and put everything into a perspective here. And what I'll also say is this presentation will be available on the website by tomorrow morning. We thought we could hand it out, but it might be more environmentally friendly to have you go online and download it or view it than just make paper copies of it here. So it really shows you in 2015 the two sides of the balance sheet here, your income and your expense sides, and you will see that they do sponsorships and donations, which is something that is relatively new for the center, and that was done in direct response to their revenue shortfall and having to think outside the box. We have, like I said, we've listed everything out here, and we can always go back to the slide if there's specific questions. Now, in 2016, we sort of take that same budget from 2015 and we sort of compare it. And the one thing that drives us here is the cash subsidy is growing from the borough. They have to carry their own insurance. I will tell you that we looked at seeing if they could come under our insurance. They can't. The association, because it's a private nonprofit, has to have an audit, so it can't fall under the borough's audit. So there's certain things that we sort of looked at when we went out for a public bid a year and a half ago to see if we could lessen their expenses, because we were kind of taking, one pot of money and giving it over here to them, and we said, well, how can we offset this? And there's certain things that we just can't do. So the financial and sort of the commitment and the borough's involvement into providing something that is mandated, and the comments of both, wanting to see recyclable curbside, led us to having conversations of what is our options. What are options that Fanwood has to recycle? And we look at it sort of three different categories. The first one is we keep doing what we're doing. And preserve the disposal of a broad array of items that are otherwise not easily recycled. We have Fanwoodians drop off their materials to the center 2 days a week. The volume of the recycling collecting at the center, we know, is declining, and the value is declining because of the market that's being driven. Whether it's China, whether it's the oil prices that are falling. And the goal of the Recycling Association is to be fiscally independent, and we hope that the subsidies are only temporary. Option 2, we needed to look at curbside. We needed to put a bid out there and see what it came back. And we put the bid out for a contract for an outside vendor, twice a month, curbside pickup of standard items: aluminum, cardboard, glass, mixed paper, newspaper, plastics, steel cans. And these were the results. And this is public bidding, public documents, which anyone can ask to see a copy of. And we received 2 quotes, one from Regional and one for Giordano. And these were the options for year 1, year 2, and year 3 for both of them. Okay? And the third one is there a way to sort of have our cake and eat it too? Is there a way that we can preserve what we love about the recycling center and yet offer a curbside benefit if the borough is already expending, as we said, close to $100,000 this year? And this is where we've had the talks with the County of Union to see where their interests may be, what services, and right now we're having a dialogue with them, as I spoke to in the beginning. So what does this option 3 look like? In our talks, we say, can we have, we'll call it special events for lack of a better word, at the recycling center for goods that may not be picked up at the curb or that may not be picked up on a regular basis as the county programs do. Encourage Union County to use the site for special collection of those items that are a challenge to recycle. And we've listed them out, which are the items that really make what the recycling center takes so attractive to so many of you. And this option does provide the ability to increase recycling participation. And it still could preserve the center as a place for community service. So that is a 10-15 minute overview of, I think, of where we are here. I'm going to turn the lights back on. Now, we're going to open it up to the public because that's what we're here today. And Harold is here with us at the table representing the Recycling Association, and any comments that can be directed directly to Harold or may be directed to any of the council, which in a public meeting usually goes through the mayor, and we'll just do that. So at this point, I'm going to call up any members of the public that wish to make a public comment. We ask that you keep your comments or statements to 3 minutes. And if there's a question in it, then make sure that we know that there's a question, or if that you just wanted to make a statement. Not every person coming up here may have a question, they just be wanting to share their feelings.
Motion to open the meeting to the public.
All in favor?
Aye.
Great. So at this point, I would call forward any members of the public that wish to make a comment. You can come up to the microphone. And what we ask is that you just state your name your address, and if you're directing a question.
I'm just surprised that this is such a huge silent majority here. I thought I'd have to fight for a place to get here. My name is Mark Roman in Fanwood on 94 Patterson Road. And just a few points. I appreciate this presentation. It was educational. I believe it was objective. One thing that was left out, even though I feel I'm a strong supporter of the recycling center, I do think it's important for supporters of the recycling center to recognize that there's not only a cost problem that this presentation addressed, but quite a few people, my neighbors included, are very concerned about the time it takes. I work at home. I have flexible hours, but these folks who leave early in the morning, come back late at night, even that 1 or 2 hours twice a month, once or twice a month, means a lot. So I think we supporters of the recycling center have to recognize this is a legitimate concern for working people. I am in favor. I'm very happy to see the blended or combined approach was brought up at the end. I didn't see that in any prior communications about this. I urge the council members to investigate other possibilities. One possibility I think of, and I have no experience in this area at all, but perhaps there could be an opt-in. Some of us folks could bring things to the recycling center. Some of the other folks could sign up with a collection place. And this, at first I thought, well, this would be kind of complicated for the curbside pickup company, but wait a minute. The trash collectors do that. We've got, I don't know how many trash collectors, and they know which houses subscribe to the service and which don't. So I think that can be done also. Just two other things. Let's remember also that the recycling center brings a distinction to Fanwood. This is a very progressive thing. This is not just unique to Union County. This is really, if not unique, pretty close to unique in the state of New Jersey. It makes us stand out. People used to laugh at Hoboken, make jokes of it, and Jersey City, and didn't even know where Montclair is. These are places that now have a reputation as forward-looking, as progressive, as green. And we could be that too. It's a way for us to stand out. I think I've talked long enough. I'll just say I'm wearing this shirt because I'm looking to dress for the future. Let's remember global warming is a real possibility. Thank you.
Well, hi, my name is Jess Moore. I'm from Borough. I don't have any questions. I'm speaking.
Sure, could you put the microphone down and just give us your address for the record?
100 Winslow Place.
In Garwood, thank you.
Well, thank you for the opportunity to speak on behalf of the Recycling Center. Today, I earned my gold award thanks to Recycling Center. With me,
Bring up the mic volume.
Gentleman who was just there turning.
now it's on.
Speak closer to it.
There you go. You got it. Okay. Thank you for the opportunity to speak on behalf of the Recycling Center. Today, I earned my gold award thanks to Recycling Center. With me, I have some brochures that I made up during my gold award that shows what can be recycled at the center.
Yeah, you can give us a pad.
My project was recycling musical instruments, and if it wasn't for the center, I don't think it would have been possible. The center taught me about recycling, from what we can recycle to why we recycle. It is a priceless organization that not only helps the planet, but numerous organizations. It teaches you responsibility and conservation, all wrapped up in one. It gives scouts a chance to work and earn funds for other activities such as gold awards, toys for sick children, yarn for hats, for newborn babies, and for trips that we would otherwise not have money for. Our town has curbside, but they do not take nearly as much as the center does. Not only does the center recycle items that have a monetary value, but ones that have a dangerous impact on the earth. They take computers and have them recycled to remove the mercury from them. This mercury would otherwise be sitting in a landfill leaking poison into the earth. Please consider these items when looking at the bottom line. Thank you.
My name is Kate Gerlach, and I live on Burns Way. First, I want to thank everybody tonight for the presentation. This is clearly a more complicated issue than I had appreciated when I wrote these comments, but thank you. I feel better educated now. That being said, I'm here tonight to strongly advocate for curbside pickup. I am a single mother of 18-month-old twins, and recycling is one of the hardest things that I deal with every week. As you can imagine, between containers of formula, bottles of milk, and boxes of diapers, we generate a lot of recyclables. For me to take them to the recycling center, I have to dress 2 toddlers in shoes and winter coats and strap them into car seats. Then I rush as fast as I can to load all of the recyclables into the trunk before the fussing from the back seat escalates to screaming. I can never fit everything into the trunk of my compact car at once because the back seat is taken up with 2 car seats. To get all of the cans, bottles, and cardboard to the recycling center takes at least 2 trips. By the time it's done, the kids are screaming, my blood pressure is through the roof, and our morning is shot. It's a thoroughly miserable experience. Frankly, I would have given up long ago, but for the generosity of neighbors who help me almost every single week. Well, it's wonderful to know that Fanwood is a community where neighbors help each other. It's not something you want to have to rely on. Today we have a recycling system that works for some of the residents of the town. If you're a Boy Scout, live in a 2-parent household, and own a minivan, the status quo probably looks pretty good. However, I believe that this town deserves a solution that works for everyone, including single parents, people with mobility challenges, and yes, people with very small cars. Therefore, I strongly vote that we move to a system of curbside pickup. I appreciate that the recycling center adds revenue to good causes and flexibility in the variety of materials it accepts. If there's a way to keep it open on an occasional basis while adding curbside pickup, that would be a nice solution. I understand that there are costs to this and every solution. As I pay to have my trash removed, I am willing to pay a monthly fee for the convenience of having my recyclables removed. Hiring a single stream provider who doesn't require sorting would be a bonus. As you can tell from the fact that I hired a babysitter in order to be here tonight, this is an issue about which I feel strongly. I was somewhat concerned that the same people who find it hard to get to the recycling center might find it hard to get here tonight as well. Maybe I didn't really need to be concerned about that, but I do believe I could speak for them as well as for myself when I say that curbside pickup would truly make our lives much easier. Thank you for listening and your consideration.
Hi, I'm Bill Egger, 26 Walden. And my question is, it seems like a lot of these fiscal problems all started when the center lost its
More into the mic, please.
when the center lost its nonprofit status. So my first question of mine would be, how can they get that status back?
We'll just for the sake of just keeping this moving, I'm sorry. Just for the sake of keeping this moving, it would be helpful if you didn't have people just yell out, The way that it'll work is that the speaker will come up. If he has a question, we will, between the mayor and the council and the Recycling Association, I think, be able to answer it. Thanks.
Okay, and if I'm wrong, it has its nonprofit status back.
It has been reinstated.
Reinstated. Okay.
Yes. They lost it, and they went through the process. The borough was assisting in that process as well with the federal government, and they have achieved their 501c3 status back.
Okay, so like the lady before me, again, the challenge is to get there 4 hours on a Wednesday when you're working, or 4 hours on a Saturday morning when you've got other things to do with the kids. It does present challenge, but the other thing is, like we said earlier, Fanwood residents aren't the only residents that use that center. So Union County really has to get in here and help fit the bill for what it costs to continue with it. And again, if that means extending hours or blending with curbside, but I'm for whatever solution does not raise our taxes. But Union County as a whole has to step in if Fanwood is not the only residents that use it. And I know they're not the only residents that use it. So the little borough of Fanwood just can't sit here and foot the bill for all this going forward.
Thank you. I would sort of make a note, when we looked at other municipalities, and I'm not going to be able to speak for all 20 other municipalities in Union County, but a lot of them are just centers that are just for residents, which is a distinction of what we do here. We don't ask, for stickers, and we don't ask to see your driver's license, much to the speaker's point.
Good evening. My name is Tom Ventriglio. I'm from North Plainfield. So I'm not even from your town. I'm not even from your county. So let's start with that. So thank you for letting me talk. I really appreciate this. I was here and brought up, because I am one of those members that you did see on that screen as one of the participants. I have 12 kids ranging from 15 years of age to 19 years of age who participate here in learning their service hours and learning how to do a good turn daily. There's a lot of other scouts out there. They all do the same thing. We all do. We're here for a reason. We support our communities. And our community is not just Fanwood. Our community is the world. Okay? I was asked to bring you a different perspective. I have curbside at home. That mom that was just up here, God bless you. Really. If I had a hat, I would take it off to you. I really would, because I understand what you're going through. But every parent, every adult is busy in this state. We all are. So we fit the time in for what we have. Let me tell you about my curbside service. It's run by the county. They decide to pick up when they feel like it on a Monday, once every other week. When they feel like it. They throw half of it back on my front lawn because it's not bundled right, set up right, sorted right, and it's supposed to be commingled. So half of it winds back up on my front lawn. So when I get home at night from my busy 8-hour day, I have to clean up my front lawn before I get a ticket for littering on my front lawn. So that's problem number one. Two, they don't take TVs, electronics, oil. I can't change my oil in my town. I don't have a dump. If I want to get rid of my oil, I have to take it to Jiffy Lube. I have nowhere else to take it. The county does oil pickup once a year. And if you miss that day, you wait another whole year. I don't know where you get that kind of service anywhere else. So I'm giving you a different perspective. Curbside service has its ups, it has its downs. What you really got to decide on what's going to affect your dollars. Tonnage is going down, so odds are people are not bringing the recycling in. That means they're putting it in the garbage. That's where your problem is. If you could get people to bring that stuff in, that tonnage goes up, the money goes down, and your town subsidy, excuse my word, will go down. Because now your tonnage is going to go up. Did anybody find out why that number came down? That was asked generally, but we kind of were told to come up. Did we ever find out why that tonnage numbers went down?
Harold, I think this is probably in your wheelhouse, talking about the amount of tonnage and the direct association to the decrease in the revenue.
There are a number of reasons that tonnage can go down. One is, newspapers used to be a large part. How many of people read newspapers now? Right, but that's a lot fewer than used to. Also, packaging. Companies, to make savings, have been reducing the amount of packaging they put around things, plastics thinner and so forth. The other is that I think you're right. People are busy and are not bringing it. And although it's a mandate, there is no enforcement. There's no penalty for not recycling. And so any recycling that's done is done because of people's goodwill. And that's just the way it is. But when you have a law but no enforcement, and then things get tough, people start to say, well, if there's no reason not to do this, I just won't. And that, I think, has contributed to a decrease as well. It's inconvenient. I agree with that 100%. I'm not discounting the fact that it's inconvenience, and I can talk about that later. But to answer your question, I think it's a combination of reasons. But there's no measurement of the recycling rate in Fanwood. The audit hasn't been done.
All right, well, I don't have an answer for you on that, but that is a good question, that maybe that's something to think about. Curbside's got its ups and downs. I'm an experience of it. You can come around my house once a month and help me pick up the papers that are all over my front lawn. But I just want you to know that that's another perspective of curbside service. And if you think they're going to stick to those numbers that were on that, I don't know. I used to work for a garbage company. We adjusted prices when gas went up, fuel went up, dumping rates went up. We had no choice. So, thank you.
Hi, Sal Fazzino, 134 Glenwood Road. First, I'd like to thank the Mayor and Council for the opportunity that you're giving us here to speak at a real town hall, and I'm hosted by Anderson Cooper. It's what makes Fanwood unique, and I love it. You know, as far as the last gentleman goes, I agree. There's a lot of great community services that have benefited from in many different ways that were enumerated here. I can't argue that, but he has not been in my garage and has not seen if I miss a recycling weekend with all the boxes and cardboard that has taken over my life. I could do what a lot of my neighbors do, and that is not recycle. I think many of us here want us to recycle, but wanting it is not going to make it happen. And we want our contributions to go down, but wanting them to go down is not going to make it happen. I think we have a fiscal responsibility to really consider not option one. And I think we really have an environmental responsibility as well to not consider option one, because we'll get more people to recycle, we'll get more people to do it. It's very simple. I'm a high school teacher. I've seen kids just grow up recycling, they don't think twice of it. You put a box in my room that says recycle cans here, recycle paper here, they do it. If it's not there, they throw it away. And that's what's happening here, and I don't think that's really environmentally proper. And I know at the heart of the recycling center 30 years ago was to get people to do the right thing environmentally. And I think that's what we need to continue to do.
Stacy Lieb, 101 LeGrand. I'm going to keep this real quick. We want to attract people to move into this town. People want recycling pickup, and they don't want to see recycling in front of our houses. That's it. They want recycling pickup, they don't want to see it sitting there. Sorry, clarify.
Hi, I'm Rob Lombard, 195 Midway Avenue. I just moved to town a few months ago.
Welcome.
Thank you. And I'm an environmental scientist, environmental health professional also at Rutgers University. And I think one thing we need to look at, which hasn't been mentioned yet, you know, it was mentioned about global warming, but the big picture for recycling. We just had a lot of the environmental benefits and savings come from reduced fossil fuel consumption, you know, and the recycling of plastics and other materials. When we have residents who drive to a central pickup site or just drop-off site, which, you know, it's a small town, may average 1 mile round trip, let's say, or something like that, and they idle at the recycling center, comparing that to, and you know, each individual doing that, comparing that to having a truck that goes house to house, I can tell you that the amount of fossil fuel consumption, having individuals go to the main recycling center is much greater than that efficiency. We can look at that more closely. There's probably some figures out somewhere. Just to keep in mind, like the bigger picture about it. And I also agree with the other speakers, certainly about the community benefits. I think, you know, again, being new to town, one of the things that attracted me to come to Fanwood was, you know, the green amenities, the sense of being in a community that felt strongly about environmental issues. But bottom line, I think, is that there is more participation when the recycling is more convenient. Not just our own personal experience and anecdotes, but when I was in other towns that I've lived in recently and had curbside, during pickup there would be more than half households with their cans outside. I know we haven't done an audit yet here, but I can tell you, I go on Saturday morning, it would be hard to believe that, you know, half or a fraction of the thousands of, what is it, 3,000 or 4,000 households in Fanwood are going to the recycling center on Saturday morning. Again, I'm all for the benefits, the other benefits, if those can be preserved in some way. I think that's really important. But overall, in terms of the green benefits of recycling, I think curbside would have overall, greater benefits. One last question I had was about the real difference in cost. Like, can we really compare the contract price for the curbside pickup people to our subsidy, our overall subsidy? I mean, where do the tonnage grants go? Do they go to the contractor? Do they stay with the town? I'm not sure that, I just want to be clear that we'll be able to, when we see the PowerPoint online, we'll be able to see what the bottom line, comparison in cost is.
Sure. If the town goes to a curbside system with the tonnage grants, it has to be collected, and so we still would get the benefit of the grants.
Mayor, I think his question was, generally speaking, sir, I think your question was, generally speaking, what is the cost-benefit analysis? And I believe the cost-benefit analysis is equal. The subsidy that Fanwood gives plus the in-kind benefits are equal to the cost that would be for curbside pickup. The cost is not a consideration. Someone could correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that they're equally, the cost is equal.
So it's a wash between, in terms of the tax dollar, the amount that the town will pay for the service. If I, just one more thing I wanted to mention, which is some of those unusual items, like hazardous waste items, styrofoam, I think, that aren't picked up elsewhere. I mean, those also aren't profitable. So I think that, as someone commented earlier, if we're going to provide that service for other towns throughout the county, then we need some type of, I think, subsidy from the county in order for us to be paying the bill for that. Thank you very much.
Carol Kraus. I live at 96 Forest Road in Fanwood. I've lived in Fanwood since 1967, long enough that I was here before there was any recycling. And my husband, along with his fellow JCs, worked at the first recycling on the south side parking lot at the train station. There was also a Fanwood environmental group that was working with them, and I forget their name, the name of the group, but they were working with them to do recycling. I hope that you do everything in your power to keep our recycling center open and to make it more profitable. It is what makes Fanwood great. And I don't know what the inconvenience is about taking it. I'm there and home in 15 minutes, and I'm going on Saturdays and or Wednesdays. It doesn't matter. And yes, I'm retired, and yes, I live alone, so my time is my own. But we did it when we had a family, and you just make time for it. Perhaps we could extend Saturday hours so that people could go in the afternoon as well as the morning. And then we could pick up more. And I would encourage people from other towns who wish to bring their recycling to do so. It would increase our tonnage. If we go to a recycling pickup, are we as homeowners going to have to pay for that service? I live alone. I'm required by the disposal companies to pay the same thing that a family of 6, 10, 12, whatever would pay for pickup. I cannot get a real lower rate. Am I now going to have to pay for recycling? That doesn't seem fair for a senior living alone. Okay, I think that's all, but I hope that you do find a way to keep the center going as it is. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Price.
Hi, Bill Eggert again at 26 Walnut. I mean, that just brings me to the next question. If they go to a totally curbside pickup, curbside pickup, would our taxes go up?
If right now we are using your tax dollars to subsidize the Recycling Association, so we have to raise the amount of money that we've shown you here tonight through the budget. So through tax dollars, your tax dollars are already paying for recycling. I mean, that's where it's been for the last 2 years. And it's incrementally going up, which is why we're having this conversation here tonight, is because your tax dollars are paying for recycling as we speak. In 2016 and in 2017, we're going to, assume it. So that, I think, is how I would like to answer that question, because if we're spending what we think is, $80,000, in hard costs plus the in-kind, and we go to a curbside system, and we look at the amount of money, it's still going to be, roughly, we're still in the same ballpark. So I hear, the seniors on a fixed income, and I know that the residents as a whole have not paid for recycling, as we traditionally think of it, maybe in neighborhood communities where you get a standalone bill. But we're here tonight because we are all paying for recycling today. And that's what has forced us, to be honest with you, to come here and to have this conversation, because once we start spending your tax dollars on a service, we've got to really look at that service in a really big picture to make sure that the benefit for the 2,200 households who are paying for it currently, is it working? Is this the best approach? Are we really doing the right thing? And that's why we're here tonight.
Yeah, I mean, we're definitely paying for it, because apples to apples comparison, a house like we have now, we moved from Middlesex County, $10,000 a year, and I know a lot of folks over there still, they're paying $7,200 a year, and they do not pay any extra to have their trash or recycles picked up. But having said that too, it sounds like, if we can raise tonnage, we can offset some of the cost to the taxpayers. And I know a lot of my neighbors, they do not recycle because it's too inconvenient to go there. I don't recycle. I don't have time. I don't care. It should be picked up at our curb anyway for the taxes we pay. These are all things I hear. I don't do it because every time I go there, someone says, oh, you got to separate, and they give me a hard time. So, I hear that too. So there's a lot of reasons people are not going there with the hours they have, or some of the rules or regulations. But it sounds to me like if we could raise tonnage by maybe somehow encouraging people to go there, I don't know if there's some sort of way to reimburse people if they go 15 times a year, which is a little more than once a month. I don't know if a barcode scan on the car that comes in, each car, and you get some money back if you recycle. But again, it just sounds like encouraging people to recycle more, raising tonnage can offset some of the costs for either keeping it going the way it is or for curbside.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Jim McGovern. I'm from North Plainfield as well, Somerset County, not Union. Though my grandmother used to live at 46 Beach Ave, Cary, Fanwood. Been a while. I was asked to put together some thoughts about what recycling means to my troop.
Walk more into the mic for the people in the back.
Turn on the mic.
Yeah.
Is this any better? Yes. Great. Now I wish I brought my glasses. No, I'm fine. Okay, so good evening. I'm the committee chairperson for Boy Scout Troop 235 out of North Plainfield. Our group has been coming to the recycling center since at least 2009, and I've been going myself since 2013 when I joined our troop. I was specifically asked to answer 3 questions in regard to the recycling center. What is the money earned at the center used for? What other benefits are gained by the group through its members' participation? And what would the ramifications be to the group of losing the funds earned at the center? I'd like to answer these out of order, as the second question is the one that's important to me. In January, the Boy Scouts issued new rank requirements for all the ranks that Boy Scouts earn. And part of this is they've increased the number of service hours required for each and every rank. Additionally, once the boys get to the upper ranks, the requirements include half their hours must be conservation related. Working here at your recycling center fulfills this requirement for my boys. It's one of the easiest ways for them to be able to fulfill this requirement, and it amazes me at how much fun they have while fulfilling this requirement. Telling a boy he's not allowed to throw glass gets at least one of them to do it. He gets in trouble, but everyone else has fun. And in terms of the other questions, the money that is garnered from this, our troop uses for equipment. Tents, when you're giving them to 12-year-old boys, don't last as long as you would like them to. At the moment, again, because the requirements have slightly changed, we're trying to buy more personal cooking equipment for the boys so that they can actually not just describe how to cook using a single stove, but actually demonstrate it, which is a new requirement for them, and our troop only has 2. So we need more. The ramification to our troop, our treasurer ran numbers for me and has shown that, at least as far back as he went for 2009, working at your recycling center is our second biggest profit center. Unfortunately for us, our biggest is popcorn. And I say that knowing full well that if you say Girl Scouts, you think cookies. If you say Boy Scouts, nobody thinks about popcorn. I have scouts who will refuse to sell popcorn because, as one of them told me, it is, quote, overpriced, and I do not think we should be ripping off those who are trying to support us. I can't argue with a 13-year-old who can come up with this. However, he has no problem working at the recycling center, and I think it makes him a better person. I have enough copies of this for all of you.
Hello, I'm Annette, and I live at 68 Watson Road, very short. So yeah, increasing the amount of tonnage seems to be the big issue here. One small suggestion, I totally realize this would not solve the problem, but we are throwing away a lot of plastic that doesn't get recycled. I think currently the center only takes plastics with 1s, 2s, and 3s on the packaging, but there's a lot of 4, 5, 6s, and 7s that get thrown away. And I don't know, why we're not doing 1 through 7. I'm sure there are, reasons, but perhaps if we could include those, that would allow us to increase some tonnage. Thank you.
That's a great suggestion, and we would love to do that. There is nobody who will buy the 3, 4s, and 5s. Even the 3s are hard to get rid of. The fact that they are recyclable is true, but there is no market and no process set up to do that, which is why we don't collect those.
Well, thank you for answering that.
And you definitely bring up a good point about sort of the rise and fall of the market, and the fact that you need a supply and a demand. And that has been what the challenge has been. We can watch sort of the overall tonnage of what they collect and what someone's willing to pay for it. And we reference sort of the price of oil is having an impact, the growth in the Chinese recyclable market, not really accepting our goods, where they once did. All of that has sort of led us to where we are today in 2016, and then you add in the convenience factor, and then it just starts to have a different story, that we have to kind of get through.
Let me just say a little bit about the fall in prices. It's been driven by the price of oil, which we're all familiar with. That's been one of it. The other is the Chinese economy. Most of the recyclables go to China or India. India is growing. Most of it has been to China. The economy has gone down, so the demand for that is not there. But also the Chinese decided they wanted to stop taking our garbage. The recycling industry went to single stream with the idea that they could then separate the stuff out and then sell it. And it turned out that the technology for separation isn't good enough, and therefore the labor required to get it to the quality wasn't what they wanted to spend, and China started to say there's too much other stuff in this and started to turn stuff back. And so it's now called the Green Wall. And the difference, and so single stream, now what the recyclers are doing with it, because prices are so low, much of it is going to incinerators into landfills. It's picked up as recyclables, but it's not a cost effective for them at these prices to actually recycle it. One of our stuff, because we sort it, is extremely high quality, and so we can sell it, but we're the minority in the market in terms of the quality, in terms of having very high quality compared to what most vendors can provide.
And we might lose that high quality if we go to curbside, if they have a.
It'll be up to the
yeah.
vendor to decide what they do.
It sure be nice if we could turn up the amplifier so we could hear the speakers. Okay. Thank you.
Hi, John Spooky, 31 Poplar Place. I'm an avid recycler. I don't have a recycling receptacle in my office, so I used to bring home my bottles and so forth from the office to recycle. I currently throw all of my recyclables in the garbage, all of them, because I cannot get there in the amount of time to keep my backyard from turning into a garbage dump. And today's lifestyle is not the same as 35 years ago. And the recycling philosophy and technology and the types of things that are recyclable are not the same as 35 years ago either. There is a reason why all the numbers that are showing the decline and tonnage is going down. It's because it's an antiquated system that doesn't have a place really for today's consumers. In a situation like mine, where I have a household working family with kids, we produce the most recyclable material of probably any demographic. And it is the least convenient method of collecting those recyclable items, forcing us on Saturdays when kids' activities and everything else that occurs today requires us to go to a recycling center. It doesn't happen, and I've gotten too many fights with my wife to continue to do so, and now I throw it all in the garbage can. The numbers are telling you this for a reason, because it doesn't make sense to continue. And I think we're in a situation of losing money currently because poor decisions were made 1, 2, 3 years ago to perpetuate a system that was clearly on path for failing, and it continues to look that way, only to be worse. So to even entertain sinking more money into such a system is a poor decision. And voters need to be conscious of this, that money cannot be further thrown into this pit where it doesn't make sense. Additionally, I like to choose where my money gets donated to, and I don't think that it's up to my local government to choose which church, local organization gets that funds. Thank you.
Thank you for that. I appreciate that. In terms of hours, we are flexible in thinking of redoing hours, but we need input from the public. If doing Sundays would work better than Saturdays, or sometimes Sundays, we can do that. I do want to say something with response to building up. The curbside is twice a month, which is being contracted. So just in terms of thinking about how much stuff you build up and when you have to get rid of it, the current contracts are looking at is twice a month pickup.
Okay. Hi, I'm Larry Zaney. I live at 10 Walden Road with my wife. We've been there since 1981. We've enjoyed Fanwood very much. Now, I've been involved in the manufacturing process where you have a cost of goods sold, costs you money, you sell it for more money, and you make a profit. And we would have killed to have a cost of goods of 0 and have it brought to us, it would even be better. But I know the economic things have changed, and I see on the line items just where the expenses are. But what do we get for a ton of paper or a pallet of plastic? And lastly, what do you mean there's no penalty for not recycling? Do you know how many times we've had discussions, well, we better clean that ketchup bottle, we might get in trouble if we throw it away. There's no penalty? Okay, that's it, but I was curious, just economics. And I know it's gone down. What do we get for paper or plastic? Thank you.
Let's see, I'm trying to remember the prices. I had a chart of them that I was going to show. Plastic right now, I think, is at about 25 cents a ton. No, to a pound, 25 cents. For the Alan knows these numbers better, because I don't look at them on a regular basis. But it's plastics, it's cents on a pound. PET, which is the biggest one, is now about 3 cents. That's the one that has really gone down. Aluminum is down to about $15 a ton. That is at least half the price it was 3 years ago. So even the most valuable commodity has come down. I can, if you want, give me your name and I can give you the list of prices for all of that stuff.
What we'll do also when we put this on the website, we'll have a list that we didn't put in tonight that actually has what the commodities are worth or what we're seeing the market there.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Ed Thal. I'm one of your neighbors in Scotch Plains. I'm also the committee chair for Boy Scout Troop 104 in Scotch Plains. I just wanted to share a couple of thoughts about my first and my subsequent participation at the Fanwood Recycling Center. Before the first time I came to the recycling center, I was just one of those curbside pickup people where I threw whatever I thought would go in a bin and left it by my curb, and I had no regard for what I was putting in there, whether it was valuable, whether it was a 1 or a 2 or a 3 or a 4 or a 5. I just threw it all in there, 8 cartons. And since then, I've now found my favorite job 3 times a year working at the Fanwood Recycling Center, up to my elbows in sorting plastics. And it's been a very educational experience and opportunity for me. I now know the products that I believe are environmentally responsible and those that are not. And I have to say it has influenced my consumerism. And I now know that Arizona iced tea just gives me another reason not to buy Arizona iced tea. So that was one thing that I wanted to share. Being a curbside pickup guy, I just had total lack of regard for what I was throwing in there, and now I have an appreciation. Second thing I wanted to share is the opportunities that I have working with the boys from my troop. We've heard a lot about the opportunity that the center provides. I just want to add to that there aren't many other things I can think of where my boys in my troop are learning at the same time civic responsibility, community responsibility, and environmental responsibility at the same time. And these are young boys who are growing up to be young men who are going to go into the world someday and find solutions. And I'm happy to say that my son is one of those boys studying in the first class at Union County Vocational Technical High School, studying sustainability sciences. And I just want to make you all appreciate your center. We've heard a lot about appreciating what Fanwood has, and having that opportunity for your youth, and the youth is the future. I just want to make you all think about that intangible. The tangible, the costs that you've laid out are irrefutable, but don't forget about those intangible values. Thank you very much.
My name is Linda A. Clark. I reside at 216 2nd Street in Fanwood. Full disclosure, my husband is Harold Clark, the president of the Recycling Association. However, for the record, I am not a member of any organization that is currently a member of the Recycling Association, and I do not serve on the board. I'm here speaking as a citizen and a taxpayer. And I would like to try to keep us focused on a point that Mayor Marr has brought up, and that is that our town presiding officers and paid professional workers are here because very complex and difficult decisions have to be made. And there are many compelling arguments on either side. But what I would like to do is make sure that we don't start quibbling over numbers or information where you you could drive a truck through the differences in the data and concentrate on what's important. And to that point, as it's been shown with the Recycling Association, this on the order of $100,000 is indeed, for the record, still slightly less than what curbside is on average coming in at. But I don't think that we need to dwell on those differences because, as was pointed out, the cost-benefit analyses and the inaccuracies in the numbers come out in the wash. So what we need to concentrate on is what is the highest and best use of the taxpayers, this chunk of the taxpayers' money. And what we don't, none of us have a crystal ball, but my concern is that the same things that are really the root causes of this, which are the price of petroleum and the state of the world economy, and frankly also a change in civic attitudes and busyness of people, in some respects, especially the economic ones, will affect curbside as well. So in the price, the gentleman who asked about the price of recyclables, I would say, on average, the price we're getting for newspaper is the same price curbside's going to get for newspaper. If anything, ours is going to be better for certain commodities like plastics, where it's been shown that we have a premium product that still has a market. So those are the types of things I'm saying about let's try to concentrate on those points. So to that point about what do you do with $100,000, there are partnerships and creative thoughts that could be made to address some of these issues. For example, this issue of convenience. Sunday is no longer the day when everybody is on their knees at prayer. And it occurs to me also that it is not convenient for anyone who is an observant Jewish person to get to the recycling center, nor if they work during the week and can't come on Wednesday, nor can they really promote having their youth organizations participate in the center, because that's at a time when there are religious services. So perhaps a Sunday 2 to 4 hour might be, or 11 to 2, might be good for some people, or an evening. So some of the inconvenience could be addressed by shifts in the hours. To the point about, time? Okay. Thank you for being timekeeper. I will make one very brief point, and that is we don't need to debate that here, but as was said, we need a sense of people. My other very brief point is let's not get carried away with option 3. That's a different funding paradigm, because there's no sale of sorted recyclables in that paradigm. It's all the odds and ends. So a civic organization could still require their catechetics class, their confirmation class, or their scouts to do a turn at the center to earn their merit badge or their service hours or their education. But there's not going to be a revenue stream associated with that. That money will no longer be recycled back into the good of the community.
Hello, my name is Sabrina Sarant. I live at 207 2nd Street in Fanwood, so nearby neighbor. I moved to Fanwood last year and am one of the residents who would recycle more if there was curbside pickup. And I'm willing to pay for recycling because I understand the benefit to the environment and have a hard time getting to the center. However, I do recognize that the community is used to the benefits of the center that were mentioned earlier, like the easy volunteer hours, the educational benefits, and the grants. So I do have a question. Have we considered if there is an option where we would pay a vendor to only pick up the recycling and then drop it off at the center for the volunteers to sort and still get their hours, and the center would still sell it? My initial thought was that this could reduce the cost of the pickup, increase the tonnage since people like me would recycle more, and keep the benefits of the center. Either way, I think the tonnage and costs are showing us that something needs to change, so I'm against option 1. So I guess I would like to see if you have an answer to my question.
Sure. In the bids we have received, the vendors would take the materials. It wouldn't be profitable for someone just to come and to pick up materials for us and to drop it off at the center if they weren't getting the value. We would get the tonnage the numbers, which would equate to the reporting, which would go to the grants. But in the responses we got, that was not an option.
Got it. So the employees that we pay at the recycling center, we want to be able to pay them to go and pick it up or do a curbside.
Not in anywhere near the current form that they have with the hourly employees or the part-time employees. The way that it's set up, and they're not borough employees. They're the association's employees at this point.
Okay.
But thank you.
Thank you.
I'm another out-of-towner, and I come from West Orange, and I just had to get up when I heard curbside single stream versus whatever. In West Orange, I think we have the best of both worlds. We have a recycling center. I can take anything to the recycling center anytime I want to. So if I miss curbside, I don't have to have a garage full for 2 or 3 weeks because I can take it to our recycling center. So I always have that option. But our curbside is not single stream. As a town, we felt that single stream recycling was totally irresponsible. And when I heard here tonight, that's when I hopped up. Somebody saying that most single stream goes to incinerators because nobody has come up with a way of taking it and sorting it. So if it's going to go single stream, it might just as well go in the garbage. Because unfortunately, in this day and age, it's not being separated. If it's going to go out in the curb, the way it does in West Orange, with plastics here, separated, 1, 2, and 3, newspapers here, cardboard, glass, all separated. If each homeowner is going to put out 4, 5, 6 bins on the curb so that it's collected separately, and that costs more money than your bid, then you're doing responsible recycling. And I think when the state passed a thing in 1986 for recycling, they were talking about responsible recycling. So the minute you're talking about single stream, you're not talking about responsible.
Thank you.
Hi, Henry Lubinsky, 26 Oakwood Court in Fanwood. I'd like to make a comment, an observation, and 2 questions. Comment is, kudos to you guys. I really hope that this was what would happen because it seemed like you were discussing all this in a vacuum. And we needed to have a dialogue. There's some interesting stuff, some I don't agree with, but that's why we all live where we live. Observation is, I've been here 30-something years. We didn't have recycling when I moved here either. My 2 sons worked there. I worked there with Troop 104. I worked there with the JROTC. I worked there with D. Millay. A lot of cold, rainy Saturdays. I helped drag an Eagle Scout project into the recycling center, that bulletin board on the end. We built that on Pleasant Avenue and dragged it over there. So there's some interesting memories. The observation is, it's interesting to hear that people don't have time. I'm a healthcare professional. My wife was a healthcare professional. We had 2 sons. They don't live with us anymore. Healthcare professionals work weekends. We seem to fit it in, so time management is an issue. The 2 questions I didn't hear answered, and it's unclear to me. We're talking about the $100,000 or $125,000 contract for curbside pickup. I didn't hear who was paying that. Is that coming out of the tax rolls for Fanwood, or is that coming out of the residents and there's an additional fee for curbside pickup? It's just unclear, so maybe I just kind of missed it. The other thing is, I watched my property taxes go from $1,900 a year to the upper side of $10,000 a year. Thank you, Mr. Mirabella. This county can't seem to keep its hands out of my pocket. When are we going to get some of that money back? Because you guys have done a good job holding on to the 2% cap. The school boards managed to get their act together and hold on to the cap. The county has not, but I don't see any benefits coming back from Union County to Fanwood. So I'd like to maybe see them kick in $100,000 grants. So I'll give it the microphone.
So to your first point, which I think was the bid that came in, and it would go through the tax rolls. It would actually be a contract that we would hire, and it would be absorbed into our operating budget. And then it would be dispersed over, staying within the 2% cap. And to the second point, we have, to your point about the county and engaging them, to your point, we are doing that, which is why I asked Freeholder Mirabella to come here tonight to make sure he was aware of tonight's, public meeting, because we look at them, we can be a partner in this. And so we're having those discussions to see, where there's overlap of what the county does, and it makes sense of where we can, kind of come into play with the resources that we have here.
My name is Luke Costu. I'm from Perth Amboy, New Jersey. Thank you. I've been in public education for 25 years, 18 of which have been in Scotch Plains, Fanwood, the last 7 as a counselor at the high school, and for 8 or 9 years I've been the site supervisor at the Recycle Center as part of the community service component of our Saturday detention program. My expertise throughout the years has been with disaffected, alienated, and at-risk youth. I think it would be unfair to characterize all the students that go to the Recycle Center in that, but it is a certain type of kid who goes there. They enjoy the work outside, and many of them, quite frankly, couldn't survive in the study hall jail of Saturday detention at the high school where you need to sit in rows and read books. It's a different place for students who don't necessarily fit into the little boxes of the way we set things up to see success. You can escape and go to Quick Check and get a meatball sub. You're treated with respect. Your work is valued. You learn a lot of things. You learn how to work in groups. You learn how to prioritize. You learn how to problem solve. How to be a team player, how to deal with customers, difficult customers at times. But nonetheless, it's a skill we all need, and they are beginning to learn at a very young age. I've enjoyed my time there for the last 9 years. I think that it gives the students a unique perspective of the importance of recycling. I think it gives them a link to our community. In many cases, students just don't feel that link, and they can see it directly. It also gives me an opportunity as a counselor to do what I like to call covert operations. I begin by asking, okay, what are you in for? And then 2 hours later, they're telling me all their, teenage problems. But that's what I do for a living. They're canceled, and they don't even know it, and they don't even get it. And the whole time, we're carrying around bundles of newspaper. So I support the Recycle Center. I hope we can keep it open and keep these advantages available to the kids in high school. Thank you.
I want to just personally say thank you. Thank you because I know it's a long day. You work at the Board of Education. You live in Perth Amboy, and you're here at 8:30 at night, and that does not go unnoticed. So thank you.
My name is Stephanie Upter, and I'm a new resident of Fanwood at 62 Glenwood Road. So first, I appreciate the PowerPoint presentation and the context. It was helpful for someone new to the area to learn a little bit more about the history of the Recycling Center. So I have 2 questions. The first is, you had mentioned special events that the county holds to promote recycling of special items. And I was wondering if there was an opportunity to offset the cost by hosting those special events at the Fanwood Recycling Center. So what the cost to organize those events on a county level was, and if that's been explored at all. And secondly, if there was any way to project the increase in tonnage if there was curbside pickup. So to figure out what a better cost-benefit analysis was, increase in tonnage if more people were recycling.
I'll take the first question. that's the reason why we're in talks with the county right now, and that's the reason why the freeholder was here tonight, because we are engaged with the county administration to explore those things, you know, that you say, and what does it look like, what kind of shape does it take, what kind of dollar figure, you know, would it help offset some of the expenses that we as a community are experiencing, but yet we can open up the center to a much wider range of people with their assistance and their marketing. So to that point, you're on the right point that we are as well. To the second of sort of predicting of the tonnage, I don't know if we can. I mean, the thought would be that you would get more people to recycle that currently don't, so therefore it would follow that the numbers would increase from what we have today. The value of that, you know, we don't know what that is because that's market driven. So I think that's how I would answer it.
Yeah, I don't think I think if we go curbside and close the center, the tonnage may go up or the tonnage may go down. And we don't have a way of predicting it. 15% of the current tonnage is by all of the non-curbside stuff. So if you close the center, that comes off. Plus we have people who, as we said, come from other towns and are bringing stuff. So some portion of what's being counted as Fanwood's recycling is that which is brought by other people. So, but if, depending on what the recycling rate is, which no one has measured, there are enough cardboard boxes and cans to make up for those decreases of those other streams, the tonnage may go up. I also think we ought to also put the tonnage grants in perspective in terms of the amount of money that's coming back. It's in the order of $15,000 to $20,000 a year. That money comes from the state funds, which are collected from everybody, every trash hauler who dumps anything at an incinerator or a landfill. And that fund actually, I believe, has been reduced by the governor to use the money for other purposes. So the amount of money that comes back isn't as big, and it comes back to the town. It does not come to the association. It goes back into the town revenues.
Thank you.
Hi, Kate Marshall, 12 Pleasant Avenue. I guess it's been a very interesting conversation. On the surface, I'm kind of attracted to the blended model because I do think that the recycling center is really valuable, very important. Sorry. However, I hate to see nonprofit organizations that do social good turn into some kind of for-profit model where somebody's scraping profit instead of having those values come back to the town. So I'd love to see some creative thinking where we could get the wonders of curbside pickup, because I have to say, yes, it's convenient. I think you will increase tonnage if you do curbside. I do believe that's true. However, I'd love to see that somehow in the service of the town and not to a for-profit private business getting that value instead of us. So I don't even know if it's possible for the Recycling Association to expand their mandate. Instead of saying we give up on you and you're only going to do the stuff that you can't sell and we're going to give everything to some for-profit business, why can't we say, is it possible for the association to expand their mandate and do pickup? Is that possible?
My first thought is with you. There's intangible benefits that cannot be overlooked, and it's creative thinking that I think is really where we need to be. What almost you lead to is the association in its current form, you know, and the salaries that it carries for those, you know, half a dozen or so employees, there's a dollar figure that goes to the budget. You know, they're not equipped right now to be creating a sort of, it's almost like the municipality would, you know, in other towns where they buy, you know, a truck and they put it under Public Works and, you know, I mean, that's where that would be going, I would think, to be honest with you, versus expanding the association's role. But I mean,
We
to your
have
point.
2 years.
But to your point. To your point.
Okay, thank you.
Carolyn Perkins, Westfield Road in Scotch Plains. I've lived here just about 50 years. I live a block and a half from the recycling center. Yes, I'm retired and I can come and go when I please. However, I think the recycling center is a gem. It is a gem. As a high school teacher said, we have to be more environmentally aware. We do. When the man mentioned he is now more aware as a consumer, sure, you can take a takeout in an aluminum container, which gets recycled, or you can have somebody put it in styrofoam, which is not recyclable. The benefits to our citizens are immeasurable, not just for the scouts or the church group or the people who are doing their Saturday detention. It is teaching them environmental awareness, responsibility, something that they will take with them in their later years of life. I cannot say more about what I feel the recycling center does, but dollars to residents, will the county do that? I don't know if the county would kick in $100,000 as a grant. However, has anyone thought of selling a sticker that you put in your car? I would have no problem paying $20 or $25 a year, because I did that many years ago in Scotch Plains when we used to have our dump across from what is a DPW now. People spend $15 on a Starbucks when they go out. Would you do this for once a year? I certainly would, and you've got a lot of other towns. And I thank the Girl Scout for making that huge list of everything that's recyclable. Everybody should have one of those. Thank you.
My name is Hans Ruland, 1 Byron Lane, Fanwood. I was born and raised in Germany, where recycling is a very big issue. 70% of the waste in Germany is recycled. Now, here we have apparently a problem, and I only hear that the tonnage is down. The tonnage has to be upped. The recycling center is not conveniently accessible for a lot of people. So, if you go to Europe, you will find in every little town, near shopping centers, in public spaces, bins, where you can throw your empty bottles, your tins, what have you, your cardboard, everything. And instead of concentrating on curbside and the place where we go now, why not take this into your evaluation? Thank you.
Hi, my name is Russ Allison. I'm from Plainfield. And before I move on further than that, I just want to point out, I've been going to the recycling center as a Plainfield resident since it first opened. My wife calls me, well, amongst other things, a recycling tyrant. So I'm a little biased. But at full disclosure, I'm the treasurer of the association, so there were a couple of things on the financial side that I wanted to bring up. Part of the reason that we started asking for the subsidies in the first place were a number of one-time occurrences. One of the people that buys a lot of our commodities went into bankruptcy. And when that happened, we lost, I know it was over $10,000 in revenue that we'll probably never see. They are now in bankruptcy still, they're slow paying, so that has had an effect. One other thing that happened is, not my predecessor, but the treasurer before him goofed up with the IRS and got us in a lot of trouble, and we had to shell out a lot of money to get ourselves back in the good graces with them. Those things obviously are not going to happen again. When we prepared the budget for this year, I excuse me, don't know how closely anybody read the slide, but we only put in $12,000 for revenue. The reason we did that is we are in the process of replacing this bankrupt organization. We've been getting a number of bids. accountants like me being conservative, we built that proposal based on the lowest possible prices that were available from all those bids. So we actually anticipate that once we find somebody that's a better payer and a better person, that money will go up. The long-term intention is to get off the town subsidy altogether. So what we're looking at this year is actually having a fair amount of the money that we're granted by the town this year left over to move forward and basically carry that on for the next few years, and hopefully in probably 4 to 5 years be able to be in a position where we're not spending the taxpayers' money anymore through the town. There was something else I wanted to mention about that. There was one slide in the presentation that showed the 2 bids from the 2 outside curbside people. If we could, when we put that up on the website, put the association's bids next to that, because you'll notice that ours go down, theirs go up. There are a number of... Okay. There are a number of things we're undertaking, like our insurance went up through the roof because for some reason the insurance company decided to put it into assigned risk. So assuming we don't go to curbside and the association is still around, we're going to rebid that. And if anybody is in the insurance industry, please contact me because we'd like to keep that business in town. We've created a few other programs like the sponsorships. When you come into the center, you see that big board. We have businesses in the town that give us a stipend, if you will. It's a technicality. We don't advertise. They sponsor a billboard there, which helps hopefully bring more money to their businesses and more money into the community. We are looking at some other things. The problem with the hours, I think, has already been addressed. One of the things, real quick. One of the things we're considering, if we can make it work, is during the summer hours when it's light out to be open some evenings. Another thing we're considering is trying to figure out a way. I think it was the second person that spoke, the single mom who has such a hard time getting there, is trying to figure out a way, while not getting involved in the whole vehicle and insurance thing, through some kind of volunteer system, to have people like with a pickup truck and a bunch of barrels go around to our senior citizens, our shut-ins, our single moms, to try to help everyone get their stuff into the bins.
My name is Sean Williams, and like the aforementioned gentleman, I also am one of those mokes that helps out on the recycling board. I'm on Westfield Road, by the way. Real quick thing I want to point out is you talked about the in-kind services. That guy sitting next to you, his in-kind costs for the association are 0. All right? The value of his services, it's hard to say, but Mrs. Clark sure would like to have him around the house more rather than having him here. All right? He puts a lot of time and a lot of effort into making the recycling board run, and he doesn't get bupkis. All right? So you talk about in kind, there's something there to think about. You had a gentleman talk about the multi-stream, right? When you got 5 or 6 different things going into 5 or 6 different bins. Well, on Old Farm Road, right across the street from me, I saw a recycling truck take multiple stream stuff and put it into a single stream truck. They didn't even bother to try and sort it. They just, all of this stuff and all of this stuff went into the one spot on the truck. So it went from multiple stream that the people took the time to sort and went into the one box.
Yes.
Right? You had some people talking about they don't want to recycle. They don't care. Right? I'm trying to teach my son, if the world's going to be worth pot to pee in for you when you're older, we better care. There's an old guy in the back said, we only get one set of eyes. He also said, we only get one planet. If we're only going to have one planet, and if we just don't care about the recycling, well, why am I wasting my time caring? That's it for me.
I want to thank you for your comments, and like I said from the beginning, the value that the association has always had, the board members that give of their time, we understand that as the governing body here. And we take, honestly, our civic and environmental stewardship extremely serious here. We are very proud to be probably one of, not a lot, sustainable communities in the state of New Jersey. And we work very close with our environmental commission here. We have tons of volunteers like yourselves that really get up every day to try to do the right thing. And it's a testament for everybody in this room that we want to do the right thing, that we want to have this conversation, and it's not all for naught.
I'm quite aware of you, and a number of these other ladies and gentlemen have been around for a while and really do give a hoot. And part of why you got my vote again.
Hi, I'm Trudy Burke from Westfield, 1028 Prospect Street in Westfield. I have a dental practice in Scotch Plains, and my staff every Wednesday piles all of our recycles into one of their cars and hauls it over to the recycle center. And Scotch Plains, I believe, has curbside recycle, but they don't do the businesses. And I think it's very important to consider that. I looked into doing commercial recycling, and the only thing that's available is for large industries and big dollars to get it done. I would be willing to pay a fee. So I just want you to consider those things.
That's great. That's great.
Good evening. John Marquardt, 44 Farley Avenue, Fanwood. I'm a volunteer. I'm retired. I've always supported the recycling center and continue to. My vote is for the recycling center to continue. I am positive about the future. I don't think our economy is that strong right now. We're, as other people have pointed out, we're suffering with the impact on the price of oil, which also affects how much we can get for our recyclables. But I do think we're doing the right thing. I don't believe in single stream. You might as well put it in the garbage. So in terms of the cost versus the benefits, I think many people have spoken very eloquently this evening about the value to our youth, the building of character, the responsibility that they learn. It's not just the youth, but adults, whether they're in some kind of community service program or whether they're simply volunteers like myself who come to the recycling center to do what is right. So my vote is for continuing the recycling center, and I hope we can work out the finances along the way. Thank you.
I could hear you from here.
My name is Alan Ebersol. I live in Woodland Avenue in Fanwood. I lived there 64 years, and I'm the manager of the recycling center. I want to answer a question or several questions that some of the other folks have mentioned, and you're talking about the volume. I started on this when the mayor asked me to take it over because the Public Works Department was trying to get it off the ground almost 30 years ago. And the mayor asked me if I would try to put my shoulder to the wheel and see what I could do with it. At the time, the Department of Public Works was charged with the responsibility, and the director of the Public Works, or whoever he assigned, was given, and he could do this on his own, 2 or 3 streets a week that he would go out to. And he would randomly pick houses on those streets that he chose. And, it's all right, Harry. And if he found recycling materials in the garbage, he had a sticker that he put on the can stating that we have found this, would you please correct it? It gives you a vehicle to implement this. This is like having your police out on the street, and if it says 35-mile-an-hour speed limit, and you're going down there 40, and they're sitting there picking their nose, not doing it, why do you have them there to start with? They're enforcing a legal rule of our society. And that's what we have got to do instead of sitting back, holding our hands, and worrying why this isn't happening or that isn't happening. We have the law that was put into effect in 1986 by our leaders in the state of New Jersey. It is up to us to see that we enforce that law. Another subject that came up was one of the other folks asking about the material and what we get for it and so on. This past Tuesday, a week ago today, we loaded a truck with 27,000 pounds of baled plastic in 1,000-pound bales. We did it in an hour and a half. We loaded that truck. We should get approximately $3,000 for that, for our treasury, the monies that you're all talking about and wringing your hands about. These are things that I heard that are legitimate, honest questions and thinking on the part of the people, which is good. And that's why we're here to share. I want to talk next and last, before my time runs out, about the intangible things that we haven't talked about. And I'm talking about bodies, human beings, children. I have 3 schools. One of the schools, you don't want to see what they have in them. We're hiding our society, the misfits, the mentally defective, the cripples, all of them. They're in a school very close to us, and they come to recycling. They're teaching those children what they feel, and some of us in this room don't feel because we're too lazy or whatever, that this is an important thing in their lives to save the natural resources that we have been provided by, that we're taking out of this earth. And there's just so much of it. They're not making any more natural resources. It's all here. And they're teaching these children to do this. They do it in the school, then they bring it on a bus to us. Then they put it in the bins themselves. And then we show them how our new baling machine works and things like that. You're teaching the future. And these children are sad that we have them hidden this way, but we do. The other schools are with normal children. I've had 2 in the past 2 weeks with their teachers and so on. They want me to go up to Mountainside, which is where the last one was, and talk to the school system, the school. They have 80 or 100 children. We're talking about the future. I'm concerned about my granddaughter's future. She's 13. Where's she going to go? What is her life? We're the adults. We're the leaders. And our leaders are not leading. They're not leading at all. They're occupying space. And industry and our political leaders are afraid to make some decisions which may not be too popular. I'm sorry to go over your time.
I'm just going to piggyback on what Mr. Ebersol was referring to. It's the Union County ESC school. The Westlake School is a public separate school for students with multiple disabilities ages 7 to 21. And they have partnered with the Recycling Center for many years to teach the students the importance of clean environment and being responsible citizens and recycling. This is a letter of support. The students have learned over the years that what can be recycled, recycling is an important concept, and the students collect all the recyclables, sort them, and then come as a field trip over to the center. So we have a letter of support from the principal. Thank you.
Good evening, Dominic Iannacone. I'm a Scotch Plains resident, Mary Ellen Lane, but tonight I'm here in capacity as a scout leader of Troop 33 located in Fanwood. And I have had the pleasure of leading 15 to 16 adults and scouts for the past 10 years on our 4 to 5 Saturday shifts in the last decade. In addition to that, our Eagle Scouts have constructed 4 of the last 5 structures that have been built at the recycling center. So we are giving back to the center as well. Now, you've heard a lot about the intangibles tonight, but there are a couple of things outside of that, because I don't think I can do a better job than Mr. Ebersol on the intangibles. But it seems to be that you're in a situation where there's a perfect storm of negative impacts on the recycling center. Historically low commodity prices, some mismanagement on the part of maybe a treasurer firm a couple of times ago, and other situations. So I caution you to come to a decision that tries to solve an immediate problem when the long run is viability of the recycling center. I think they're doing a number of things that can improve revenue, okay, which is the sponsorship signs. I certainly think that instead of volunteering or a volunteer payment for large metal objects, you could put a sign for people to pay. I certainly know I would rather pay $10 to drop off large metal objects than have them sit in my garage for the once-a-year pickup in Scotch Plains. So there are many things that you could do to improve it, but they need that time, okay? The commodity prices will go up, there's no doubt about that, so your tonnage may go up, and I think there have been some very creative ideas mentioned today to how to assist the people in Fanwood who cannot get to the recycling center, either with extended hours or some volunteer pickup. So again, just caution, don't make a decision just on the short-term problem. I think long-term is viability of the recycling center. Thank you.
Okay, we're just going to watch the time, so I'd like to call forward anybody that maybe hasn't had a chance yet to just speak to us. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Bob Platts. I live with my family at 155 Farley Avenue. And I guess the comment I wanted to make is, to me, it seems like it's not just about closing, whether we close the Fanwood Center or start curbside pickup. To me, if we close the Fanwood Center, not only are we losing the benefits to the community, but we are losing control of this whole conversation. If we go to curbside pickup, it seems inviable then to decide 3 years down the line it's too expensive and to go back to running it ourselves. Yet we also lose control. You know, if commodity prices keep going down, we've got an RFP saying this is what it's going to cost for the next 3 years. 4 years from now, if they decide it's no longer economically viable to recycle, they will jack the price. They need to make their money. So we've then completely lost control of how much it's going to cost, what it has to do. If we're still required to recycle. Now we are required to pay whatever the market bears for our recycling, and it seems like control is what's really important. Where we getting the benefit and where we have the control in this. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. Gary Zelk, Fanwood Environmental Commission. Just want to say thank you, Mayor and Council, for being here, hosting this meeting, and thank everybody for coming out on a cold, rainy night. It's really great to see many people here. Wouldn't it be great if every council meeting had this many people? Well, maybe not.
No, they're watching it from their houses, that's what I said.
There you go. Before I say anything else, I just want to say, Mayor and Council, good luck. You got a lot of work cut out for you, but I think you've heard a lot of good ideas tonight. Certainly a lot of pros and cons everywhere. Unfortunately, this is not one of those decisions where it's very clear cut where all the positives are in column A, all the negatives in column B. I mean, if recycling prices had stayed high, we wouldn't be here tonight. We'd be home, turning to TV, maybe at the gym, reading a book, maybe even a real book before you recycle it. It's just an interesting concept, our recycling center. As some of you may know, there's a program in the state of New Jersey called Sustainable New Jersey. And you get points for different things that you do in town, whether it's an energy audit of your public buildings, how well you have rain gardens, so on and so forth, what kind of stormwater management you have, and also recycling. We have 150 points, which gives us bronze status. 30 of those points come from our recycling center. Very, very significant. And Margaret Chowdhury back there was almost instrumental single-handedly in getting us that status and worked really hard to do that. So the big thing is recycling prices, someday they'll probably come back. Is it next year, 5 years from now? Who knows? Can we hold on that long? Hopefully. One of the biggest problems, probably if we do close the center, even temporarily, is that sense of continuity. You heard some of the scout leaders say, hey, I know my boys and I are going to be here 3 times this year. Well, if you break the continuity and then you say, hey, we have an open spot, it's kind of like, oh, well, we already filled it that Saturday with something else. Obviously, curbside recycling would be a benefit to some people. The rates may go up, but if the rates go up, again, it's going to be the most valuable things. The less valuable things we'll be stuck with. And one question I have, I don't know how well the businesses in town recycle. So a lot of times I'll go to a business and I'll say, I might have a can or a bottle. Hey, where do you recycle? Where's your recycler? Well, we don't recycle, we just throw it in the trash. So maybe the business association, maybe they could do some sort of curbside pickup just for the businesses. Small contribution on the part of the businesses, they can go around, take care of the recyclables of the businesses, and that would help raise tonnage. One of the things that came up too about helping to pick up items from the elderly or shutters or whatever, we actually had a scout come to the Environmental Commission with that idea, but unfortunately I think it was squelched by the liability issues, something along those lines. As far as the county goes, I don't think the county has to give a big subsidy. I think if they would just designate our recycling center as one of their designated pickup spots. Because let's face it, people say, oh my gosh, I missed going to recycling this Saturday, my stuff bundles up. Well, if you missed the county recycling with your big items, that's a lot longer time before you can get it out there again. But if Fanwood Recycling Center could be a designated county area, a couple county employees come down to help manage the program for that day, and then if the county was to haul those items away, I don't think it would cost the county that much more, but it would be a great benefit to Fanwood to have that part of the waste stream taken out and taken over by the county. Okay, so thank you all very much. Again, thank you all for coming out. Safe day.
My name is Richard Leone. I'm at 6 Rainier Road.
Excuse me, sir. Microphone, please.
I'm sorry?
Please speak into the microphone.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Thank you.
My name is Rich Leone. I live at 6 Rainier Road in Fanwood, New Jersey. And I have been very interested in recycling. And my reason is well known to Mr. Dixon and to Mr. Eversole. I was going, and I'm against pickup at the curb for the reason I'm going to tell you. When we used to have, I've been here since 1957, something like that. I've observed fluorescent light bulbs annually being picked up on the curb, broken. And guess what's in those fluorescent lights? Mercury. Guess what happens? That when it rains, where that mercury goes. Oh, I'm so sorry. Guess when it rains, where that mercury goes. Well, we got together with Mr. Dixon, Mr. Eversole, and now CFLs and fluorescent light bulbs go to recycling in our proper way recycling without damage to children's brains. I don't know how you put a cost on that. I just don't know how you do that. Okay? And Union County gave us the grant to put that house in the recycling center.
To what?
Union County.
Talk to the mic.
Union County, sorry, I'm not used to this, gave us the grant to build the house and for the funds for pickup to take it properly. And I can assure you, they do not do it right. When I used to go up to AT&T and see the lone fluorescent light bulbs on the pavement for pickup, broken. And you are not going to find a single payer system. And I just did this roughly, okay? Oil, who's going to pick it up? Oil, who's going to pick that up? Who's going to pick up the fragments of plastics that are going to go into the water? We're going to pick up the gold and the silver and the electronics. We're going to pick, I said, the light bulbs, the batteries. And we still don't do enough of the batteries because some government person allows us to throw in the garbage. Well, where does that go when the garbage truck pulls his lever? All that chemical goes into the ground, into the street, and into your water. Okay? Paint cans. We pick them up. Okay? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'll keep this simple. Okay? I'll get out of here quickly. But paint cans, same thing. Chips, microchips, get into kids' brains. Is that matter to you? Now, and the last one was computer inkjet laser cartridges. Very few people even know that you can go to Staples and do it. And most people don't have the time. Okay? That's 7 items that are hazardous out of about 10. I don't get this, So I'm just going to say, as a community, it brings people together. You would never know your neighbors if you didn't go to recycling, to be honest with you. I talked about the grant, and I talked about, and the last point is the charities and seeing the children when we go there, and the Boy Scouts, as has been mentioned. There is no substitute for that. My final words are that, yes, I agree with the gentleman, Union County should have this recycling, should contribute to this recycling center. Because we actually do the bulk of what they never do when they circulate around in Union County. And no one has the time or know where it is.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Hi, my name is Asia Moran. I live on 2209 Inside, based in Scotch Plains. And I want to give you this letter that is from the Girl Scouts and the mother of the Girl Scouts that are in Metro. And it says, Dear Fanwood Council, thank you for the opportunity to continue to partake and support the Fanwood Recycling Center. We are a Girl Scouts troop of 8 great young ladies who enjoy working and spending time together and to enhance and promote our community in a positive manner. The money we earn from participating at the recycling center goes towards a variety of troop activities, for example, camping, group excursions and trips, meeting, etc. In addition to earning money, the Fanwood Recycling Center provides a great place for us to work together as a troop, meet and work with other people in the community, learn and understand the importance of recycling and bettering the environment. Sincerely, Fanwood Scotch Plains Troop 4405. And I am thrilled in addition to that, to say that anything that has a community enterprise, like the recycling center, is thrilling me. I mean, I think it's a great opportunity to make a place for people to meet and work together and get to know each other, and all those added values that you cannot, of course, give money value to them. And I hope you will continue. I'm for the recycling center. I'm not against single moms that cannot get there, of course. So something maybe has to be, addressed and done about that. That's it.
Thank you. Please tell your Girl Scout troops that we appreciate them writing the letter to us.
Hello, I'm Jim Van Astern, 75 Willoughby Road. And I'd like to say it's interesting that I've lived here almost as long as the recycling center's been here. I got here a little bit after that. And I have 2 kids who went through the local school system, played inter-county soccer when traveling all over the place, but we always found time to recycle. And I realize that it might be hard for some people to do this, and we are a small community. So maybe we really need to put together some kind of a helping system. Because when I go to the recycling center, I can usually stuff some more stuff in the car. So maybe what we need is the town to sponsor something so that neighbors know who does need help bringing the stuff to the recycling center. So, you go over your neighbor's house, you grab their stuff, throw it in your car, and you drive away. Or maybe we need to have an Uber app for recycling. So somebody can basically go on your phone and say, who's going to the recycling center? Oh, I'll pick it up, and they come by. So there are a lot of creative ways we can get more people involved. But if you don't spend the time to do something, you won't value it. I spend a number of Saturdays with the Scouts doing plastic bin diving, dumpster diving, pulling out the different plastics and throwing them into the things. And you get to appreciate that. I'm recycle practically everything in the house, and I've got a basement full of stuff to prove it. So I think we really need the recycling center, but we really should start thinking in the 21st century of ways to get more people to use it.
Hi, I'm Stacy McAnulty, Poplar Place in Fanwood. I agree with so much of what I heard tonight. I'm a big supporter of the recycling center. I grew up on Long Island. We didn't have this. We've been living here 20 years, and we've been doing it for at least that long. We probably increased the tonnage this weekend when my husband finally emptied out the garage. Everything that had been building up this winter. I hope that we can keep this open. I really support it, and I think that increasing the hours and maybe doing the kinds of things that people have talked about tonight to increase the usage of the recycling center. And if there is any way to provide any kind of curb pickup for people who can't get there, I really support that as well. My daughter was a Girl Scout. She volunteered once or twice there. We always took our kids. They always helped us do the recycling. My son is at Rutgers right now, and he is an environmental science major, and he is always, always, always making sure he's using reusable water bottles and telling us to do the same to make sure that we do the recycling. And so he's 20 years old now, and 20 years of the recycling center, I think, had an impact on him. And I also want to just thank everybody and the mayor and councilor for putting this meeting together. I love Fanwood. I love that we're a great community, that community organizer here is not a dirty word, and that we hold together and we do the things that's good for the whole community. And I think that is what I, as a political science major, thought the government was all about. Thank you.
Okay, well, Mr. McCarthy, do you want to come up?
No, I can't get all the way up there.
Or do you want to just want to talk and leave the mic to you? As a former councilman,
Move a chair up there.
as a former councilman, I think we can accommodate him.
I'm not that old. I've only been here 60 years, but I'm married in Fanwood. Bob McCarthy, Willoughby Road, Fanwood. I was on the council when this first started. I was the councilman responsible for interfacing with the Scotch Plains. Interfacing with Scotch Plains way back then. I gotta tell you, it was a lot of fun. However, the outcome was Fanwood only. Now it's everybody. But more importantly, it's been so successful. It's been one of my, I think, one of my favorite things to have been involved with in the beginning. It's been so successful. And Al Ebersol and I worked together in the phone company, and when he took that over, I said, we are indeed going to do very well, because he's very good at that. Anyway, I think you all deserve a great round of applause for all the effort you put into this. And I gotta tell you something, street side pickup we had down in Manasquan, my house down there, and they had midnight drop-offs too. Well, everybody come out of the bars and drop all their stuff in their front yard and stuff. I don't want curbside pickup here. Sorry. Thank you so much, and God bless you all for your effort.
I want to thank everybody for coming out here tonight. You know, we've been here since 7 o'clock together. It's almost 9:30. I think we can all agree that it was, 2.5 hours well worth our time as a community here to really drill down on something that we all really want to do. We all love the environment, and we have to figure out the best way to continue providing the services for our community in the 21st century. So, like I said, tonight was about listening and to gathering information. I will tell you that we have received many emails, really both, offering suggestions and in support of both situations. We're still going to solicit your input for your neighbors if they couldn't be here tonight, for people that you think should, go on the record and send us an email or send us a letter. For those watching at home that have watched this public forum, to please reach out to us, because your voices are going to be heard. On behalf of the entire council, I would just say, is there anything that any of the council would like to say at this point?
Just thank you.
Well, yes, you know what, I think thank you to all of us, really thank you to all of us. So I'd like to have a motion to close the meeting to the public. Second. All in favor? And I want to again thank you very much for coming out tonight. A motion to adjourn? Thank you. Good evening.